get started.
Oh, thank you, yes.
Okay, let's bring the meeting to order, please. 6:30. Welcome you to the May 2017 Summerfield Town Meeting. And it's Founders Day week, just going to be praying for no rain on Saturday. We'll see. Ms. Sutton, if you would do the invocation for us.
Father, how we thank you tonight that we can gather together as a family. Lord, I just thank you for each person here, especially our council, our town council, and all the work that they put into this, and all the committees and all that are here. Thank you for that. Pray that you will be with us during this meeting, guide and direct us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, please stand for the pledge of
Oh, no, just get that.
allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's do our introductions. You want to start it, Mary?
Mary, introduction.
Sorry, my name is Mary Gant. I'm filling in for Valerie, and I'll be taking meeting minutes today.
Diane Lawson.
Mike Adams.
Dina Barnes.
Mark Brown.
Jonathan. Reese Walker.
Scott Wood, Town Manager.
Dee Hall, Finance Officer.
Terry Spencer, Planning Director.
Sean Taylor, Town Planner.
And Mr. Hill will be just a few minutes late. He should be here shortly. Now for council, the consent agenda tonight consisting of the meeting agenda, adoption of open session minutes for April 11th, financial report, speed limit reduction from NC 150 East from 220 to Strawberry Road. And also, the manager wishes to remove 10E from the agenda and to renumber those, re-letter, rather those next three, make them E, F, and G instead of F, G, and H. And do we have a motion to approve, to revise consent agenda, or do we have any other concerns with it?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to suggest that we have the possibility that we may need a closed session to discuss personnel matters.
Okay.
I would recommend if you do that to add it between item 11 and 12. I think that's a good idea, John.
Okay. Okay, we want to add that, as 11A, say. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, motion by Ms. Barnes, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Adams.
And one quick clarification before you vote on that. I didn't make it clear. There were some revisions on the minutes, and so everybody should have had a draft that's dated the 8th instead of the 3rd. And it was just some changes with the motions, not the actual content, but who made the motions and clarifications. So if anybody needs a copy of that, we can provide that.
Can you identify which those were?
Sure can. It's, if you're looking on the old, the May 3rd draft that went out in the packet under consent agenda, that second line where it said Brown motion to approve the consent agenda, that was changed to Barnes. And then Adams, you seconded that, 2 lines after that. And then that's all on page 1, and you can flip over to page 4 under item business from Mayor and Council, item B. Toward the end there was a question about whether it was a vote or just a consensus, and the revised minutes clarify that after listening to the tapes again, and it should read, Walker suggested that PD plan development be placed on hold and the UDO focused on first, with understanding that PD will be a part of the overall process. Council agreed by consensus. And then the last change was on the very last page, 5, in the first line, it should be O'Day, motion to adjourn, and it was seconded by Adams.
Would you like me to add that to my motion? An approval of the minutes,
As amended, if you don't mind.
an approval of the minutes for, what was that date? I'm
From May 3rd to May 8th revision.
sorry. Okay.
Seconded again.
Moving in a second. Do we have all in favor of the motion, raise your hands. Okay. Okay, any announcements, Mr. Manager?
Just to piggyback off of what your announcement about Founder's Day, so it's Friday and Saturday. Friday, it's 6 p.m. until 10. Saturday, the parade is at 10 o'clock, and the event goes until 4 o'clock. It's still at the fire station area, and it's, mind you, it's rain or shine, so we look forward to seeing you all.
In the office, parade?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, now we're down to public comments for the 2017-18 budget, limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Y'all done them?
Field number 5805 Summerfield Drive, Cameron. Small requests, maybe larger requests, the $2.7 million budget. You greatly increased the amount that you would be able to take from the $7.7 million reserves. I objecting to taking the money unless you're looking at what the total project is going to cost. I see no starting many $1 million projects, and we really don't have any cost factors on it. And you need to do something more than guess. As far as the Martin Bench, as far as the Martin House and the Gordon building, the question was water and septic. So we're fine, we've got 4 wells down the hill on the Gordon property, and we're going to take everything, take the well and septic underneath the road. I mean, this is a major, major undertaking, and we understand that there's three tanks, former fuel tanks buried down there. We don't know what else is buried down there, but maybe you should do something about getting an accurate price about water and septic to those buildings before you continue on this path. Small request. At the last zoning meeting, it was for subdivision, and none of the neighbors were notified. And if it's a rezoning, I think you do within a 1/4 mile radius, anyone adjacent or within a 1/4 mile. No one was notified, and we were told, well, they don't have to notify them. And one of the neighbors said, gee, we just heard about this, kind of through the grapevine. It's going to be across the street from our house. And they said, well, it was rezoned before you were born. Well, that's hardly reassuring. And I had suggested you need, number one, you need to do a better job with the 1/4 mile. Don't use a mailing list that's 2 years old. There's other documents that you could use. It might take a little bit more time. Try to get an accurate mailing list. Mail it out at least 15 days ahead of time, so that if there is, and put return receipt requested so that you get an address correction to try and get it as accurate as possible. Or if it's mailed and you send it out 15 days or even 20 days ahead, you have a better chance of getting an address correction. But I was told, well, we don't do that because we don't have to. If you're doing a subdivision or something major to an area, I think the neighboring citizens should be notified. And I've heard this before, this is nothing new. Well, we don't have to. Well, it's resources. Maybe you need to add $200 more to your $2.7 million budget, or find it someplace else for postage, so that you're able to mail out notices when there's 20 houses being built across the street, so the people in the area know what that subdivision is going to look like. So at least they have the option to come. They can come or not come, but this is supposed to be government. This isn't a private business where we got to keep everything secret. This is government, and this should be participatory government, where the public is involved, the public is informed. So maybe $200 there. Concerns about, the long term, the increase in the amount, the increase in the debt, payroll. Again, the town only the whole town receives $500,000 a year from our property taxes. Yes, you get additional funds from the fees and other sources, but it's still, we're not driving around with a trunk full of money. People think Summerfield's rich, we're not. We don't want a tax increase. We don't want you to be planning all these things with the idea that we're just some black hole to spend and do whatever you want to do. It doesn't appear that thought is being given to the immediate costs or the long term. You're paying benefits, payroll, $455,000. I think this year's $535,000. It's gone up quite a bit. I'm not sure what it's going to be next year. The big thing that's missing from this budget is more budget information like this spreadsheet. I'm not sure Scott's raise has been approved in open session in the past, but of course you can just put it in the budget and then we wouldn't know what it is. But I do think we should have that information. I mean, if you're working for government, again, this is not a private business. And yes, I'm sorry, your pay and benefits are public record. But I think things can be put in here that are never discussed. And I think it's a shame that you never have a Q&A as far as the budget is concerned.
Your time is up, please. Elizabeth McClellan.
I just wanted to clarify what I had said before about the budget. I think there should be an increase in attorney fees for next year. And the clarification on that, although we're saving a lot of attorney fees recently here, since we haven't had an attorney present at most of the zoning board hearings and several town council, or at least the Q&A. But was that if you're passing an amendment like the plan development, if something like that were to be, or we're going to have the UDO committee, it is going to be very important to have an attorney look at that. And I think Bill Hill is a very fine attorney. This is not a knock at Bill Hill in any way. But if you have cancer, you're probably not going to go to an internal medicine doctor. You're going to go to an oncologist because he's a specialist in that area. And so I think when you're doing a land use document, it would be very important to have a land use attorney that did not have any conflict of interest with the majority of developers in this area to look at it and to give you all feedback and the town planners feedback in that regard. Okay? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Jill Key.
Jill Key, 6264 Lake Craft Road. I wanted to talk a little bit about the budget in terms of what I don't see there. During some of the public comment around the PD, there was many comments that I heard from citizens asking for various studies be done before new development is undertaken, because there's a lot of concern over many things like traffic and schools and fire and all these things. We've all heard them before, but I don't see necessarily anything in the budget that reflects that need. And even though we have put the PD on hold for now, I think there is still the intent to look at it in the future. And so as we're looking forward to that event, it would seem to make sense that we start now looking into those surveys, because it is a very strong concern for the citizens. That's first. The second thing is, there has over the last couple of years, or I don't know how far up the back it goes, but a pretty big discrepancy between the budget and actuals. And I don't really know why that is, but that's what I've observed. And I wonder, for this coming year, are we actually planning on spending what we're saying we're going to spend? Because it will cut into that reserve, and over time that is not sustainable. And so I'm really interested to see, is this really what you plan to spend on a regular basis, or is this a one-time thing? And I know you can't answer questions, but just in general, if someone could say, how do we get answers from town council? I know that in this open forum, we don't typically do that, but how do we get your responses? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would just suggest call the council member, call the town manager, get the call. Okay, now we'll go to the public comments, the regular public comments in 5 minutes. Gail Dunham.
I'd like to know who all these committees are that are making all these decisions with our money, when they were appointed, who's on them, when their meetings. It seems to me that I've never seen anything in the town policies until more recently here with Scott, where you had subcommittees and no disclosure of who they were, and I don't think they were approved in an open meeting. On the UDO review, you're talking about a subcommittee. As far as the discussion about the intersection and Martin and the house and the Gordon house, there is a committee. I filed a public records request for all of this. It should be fairly, and I don't know why it would be so difficult. She just tells who these committees are, who's on them, when were they formed. These subcommittees, they have a lot of power. But the one about the committee, it says a council-approved committee. So they're doing everything about the pedestrian intersection and the architectural services. We're talking about a lot of money here, and I'm not sure that this is really being done in a sequence that is that has much respect for the taxpayers. Who is this council-approved committee? When did you approve them? Who's on it? Are they even taxpayers that live here? Are they business people that are investors? I don't know. Here's another subcommittee about the UDO that's going to approve who's on it. Who's on that? You know, you're supposed, I think you should have on the website, you list your committees and who is on them and who are the alternates and when they meet. You've got these subcommittees. At one point, Scott had another subcommittee for the Trails Committee. Out of the Trails Committee, I think he took 3 people. And that was a subcommittee that was doing all these other separate reviews. No idea who was on it. This is government. This isn't a private business. And we should know who these people are that are making these decisions or making these recommendations. You could be creating committees or commissions for pay that we wouldn't even know about. So that's why I think we need to know that. On the UDO, I would strongly recommend you consider a larger committee. I do this at the federal level for transportation. And I can tell you, at the federal level, you have no idea the amount of money, clout, and everything going on at these meetings. But what I've learned is that the larger the rulemaking committee, the more effective they are. We're on a rulemaking committee of 12 organizations, and our organization was one of them. And I kind of liked it when it was smaller. But they enlarged it now, all 23. We're talking the airlines, the whole industry. We're talking about billions of dollars represented at this table. We're the public interest group. We represent the passengers and the family members and the survivors. But what I've seen with a larger committee, it's far more effective. Take that small committee and think, boy, we'll just go 4-3, 5-2, you know, and we'll just get through what we want. We can control everything that way. What happens with a larger committee is far more effective. You find people working with each other in different ways. So, believe it or not, a larger committee can be far more effective to getting the job done. And hopefully you have a UDO that's really going to reflect the people and the interests of this town. I think you're still underestimating where the people of the town are coming from. We want low density. We're not against smaller homes. We're not against developers. The only thing we want is the overall density, and that's to protect the water and the resources for every person who lives here. And we're very concerned about high density that might be next to existing homes. This was not part of the packet, so I didn't have a chance to read it all, but I do see that, you know, your goal seems to be a much smaller committee. Rather than get to a number, why don't you see what kind of volunteers you get? There's a lot of talented people in the town. I would welcome new people in the town that bring expertise. Maybe a lot of relocation people here. Maybe they moved here in the last 5 years. They have a lot of knowledge from other communities too. So you have a very diverse population in Summerfield. So rather than come down with a number, I think it should be, rather than something too academic, I think it should be that we're going to have a UDO committee, and we're looking for people with a variety of interests, and have it be that way. Again, unless, you've got a UDO, and we're just looking for, 3 or 4 people in a committee that's going to rubber stamp what we already have done. And you know what? The UDO has to be released. Would each of you tell me why you haven't released this the draft UDO for 5 years and for over $500,000 of our money?
Your time is up, please. Teresa Pedro.
Teresa Pickle, 7401 Glenmore Drive, your mayor, town council, and staff, and Bill. Y'all sent our application back to the zoning board for the April 24th zoning board meeting. Never in my life have I been so confused at this meeting. The committee didn't even know who the applicant was applying for this application fee. And during the agenda item, they kept going back from the PD and the UDO. They were getting all talks into our comprehensive plan amendment fee. And I was just trying to follow back and forth exactly what the process was. And of course, I went away that night not knowing any steps. I was just as much more confused then than I was when I walked in. And also, all the new approved committee members were present, and there was one absent on the board. However, my understanding that the members could have been sworn in that night, but they were not to be able to sit and make it. But as far as our application fee, it still stands, and could you please direct the zoning board to take this fee seriously and to do their job? Thank you.
Elizabeth McClellan.
Elizabeth McClellan, 7103. 3 quick things. One suggestion, the banner I saw tonight coming here with Founder's Day, which looks very nice. And a recommendation would just be to do one for a town council hearing tonight. That you could just put up, not with a date on it, but every town council meeting that day of, it could be up there just to kind of, remind people that tonight's a town council meeting. Second was about the UDO committee. First, I think it's really important to release the document. It's not perfect. There's no perfect document. Even at the end, it's not going to be perfect because we don't live in a perfect world, but I think it's really important to release that so that people know what they're kind of getting into. And Mr. Fulmer, the new chair of the committee, did request for the town manager to release the, publicly to just release that document so people can start looking at it. So I just think that would be important. I know it comes from council direction, so I'm asking this council to please request that to be made public. Because we have paid for it. It is the taxpayer's document, ultimately. And then my last point was just on rural versus urban. I'd like to welcome Mr. Taylor to the town staff. And so we're kind of a different town here. We're rural, not urban. Recently, I think some of our staff think we're urban, but we're not. And I think the town kind of came out full force and said, we really like the rural feel. And one small thing is just, I have a farm, and so I have really long grass. But my neighbors don't complain, because they know that that's going to be my horse's hay this winter. And in an urban setting, that would upset people. They would be like, oh, it's unkept, and that kind of thing. So that's just one really small difference, I think, in Summerfield that people get, and they like it. And you'll see when we talk about gun ordinances, you've got moms like me that are, concealed carry people, and it's just, that's how we are here. We're just very different from maybe an urban setting. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Long.
Hey, I'm Eric Long, I live at 7230 Summerfield Road, and I guess I'm piggybacking on everybody's statements about transparency and posting documents to the website that people need. I usually check after these meetings for like summary and meeting minutes, and since March or February, I have to check the website. I haven't seen summary or meeting minutes posted.
All of the draft minutes are posted.
I just checked it today, I didn't see it for like March or like last meeting, or maybe 2 months ago, I didn't see that posted yet. But I don't know, maybe I'm not seeing it. But I didn't see meeting minutes or summary, so just continue to do that because people are looking and wanting to know what's going on in the town. And, you know, in some of the agendas, there's attachments that you read, but sometimes those aren't included on the website either for like people to, I guess the council sees some of those attachments, but the public doesn't, and it just seems like the public, before they come to the meetings, could have more information so they can speak intelligently about the issues in their town. So, that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, now we're down to committee reports. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee met on April 17th, and we discussed the upcoming line item budget draft for fiscal year 2017 and 18. That we answered any questions that they have, and in lieu of a May meeting, the committee has been invited to attend the Tuesday, May 23rd special call town council meeting about the budget.
Okay, historical.
We met on the last Thursday of April, and we are busy now getting ready for Founder's Day. My committee has been fantastic. We're 10 on, 5 women, and just working themselves to death. We're going to have 13 tables under the tent. Should be really interesting, all about Summerfield. I think our veterans have 3 tables, and that's always great to have them there. One table is having refreshments, so that should be a drawing card too. But we're looking forward to this, and I hope it won't rain. But it is a good variety of groups, and please go by and visit.
Thank you. Trails and open space.
We had our regular meeting the fourth Wednesday of last month, I forgot the date now. We mostly worked on Founder's Day, but Carrie came and gave us an update on maps and open space that has been identified in the town. Our next meeting, and we have the tent, the big tent next to the historic tent. And we're and we're going to give away prizes. Just saying. Hope everybody can come, and we've never had, I don't think ever had a total rain out on Founder's Day. We have had some wet mornings, but we've never had a total rain out. It looks like we're not going to this year, so let's do our sun dance. Our next meeting is June the 28th at 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Founder's Day. Anything to add?
Just that our vendor space is maxed out. We've got, we've filled up all of our spots for that. We've got all the big areas covered in food varieties from our food vendors. And we've got Back Porch Orchestra, area favorite that'll be performing. And as long as the rain holds off, we're excited. And we have a really heavy group of parade vendors. Do you have a number for us, or do you want to? 84. 84. Everything is shaping up as long as the weather does for us.
Your grandpa had over 100 before.
I was going to say.
Okay. Emergency Services Report, Summerfield Fire.
In the month of April, the Summerfield Fire District ran 20 fire-related calls, 55 EMS-related calls, 23 other calls. Our call total for April was 98 incidents. We installed 23 car seats to reach over 170 children through our fire prevention and community outreach. We're very happy to announce that we just went through a training session today with our newest public education prop, who was fortunate, which will be shown at Founders Day, was fortunate to get a fire life safety trailer, something we've been working on for many, many years. That will be used not only to teach kids, but it also is widening our reach to older kids and also adults of all ages with fire safety messages as well as life safety messages. This is an interactive trailer that teaches you the proper way to control a kitchen fire, how to use a extinguisher, practice calling 911, bedroom safeties, and what to do in 4 different weather emergencies. So you'll be better prepared. People of all ages will benefit from the life-saving lessons learned in the realistic setting of the fire and life safety trailer. Our fire safety message this month is Memorial Day is fastly approaching, so there'll be time to break out those grills and start barbecuing. Fire in the grill under hot dogs and hamburgers is a welcome sight. Seeing us at your cookout is probably not a welcome sight, unless you invite us the proper way. Yeah, we do eat all. But fire anywhere else can make your summer kickoff barbecue memorable for all the wrong reasons. To keep you and your family safe during the grilling, use these following guidelines. Propane and charcoal grills must be used outdoors. The grills should be placed well away from the homes, deckings, railings, and other under eaves, away from under eaves and under overhanging branches. Keep children and pets away from them while you're barbecuing, and keep your grills clean by removing grease and fat buildup from the grills and trays below. And never ever leave your grill unattended. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sheriff's Department, Sergeant Lee. Welcome back.
Thanks, sir. Good evening, council. Thank you for having me here tonight. I would like to talk on a few points. District 1, our response area, is down 15% on Part 1 crimes for the entire year. Now, keep in mind that District 1 is the unincorporated area of Guilford County, north of 40 to Rockingham County, from the Forsyth County line over east to Highway 29. For the month of April, we ran 667 calls in this district. That is dispatch calls through the 911 center. That is nothing that also generated a traffic stop or anything he noticed about his shift. For the month of April, we only had 15 Part 1 crimes. Part 1 crimes are your burglaries, your thefts, your aggravated assaults. And that is down from 26 of last year. And in Summerfield, we only had 4. So that's very, very good. Summerfield is super safe town. That's what we like. We do have a recent crime that has occurred, and it is largely in water. This food line